Hi, and welcome to Battle Arena TV, Europe's premier MMA fight promotion. We've had an incredible week so far. Chris, what have you been up to?
Well, as per normal, I've been on the mats training, pushing myself in the gym, inspired by some of these amazing fighters to, even though I'm a little bit older now, I've got a few grey hairs, but I keep trying to push myself and so I can still hang with these young kids on the mat. But as you know, Steve, it's not easy.
No, you just got to be really, really crafty. You got to be using all the little dirty tricks, fish hooking, and all the illegal moves that we won't see here at MMA Battle Arena. Me, on the other hand, I'm thinking about taking up professional eating.
I think you'd be good at it, buddy. So let's see what's coming up on tonight's show.
Wow, what an incredible night of action that we have ahead of us, and an incredible show at that. But first, we're going to be taking a look at the Bantamweight ranks and a title fight from earlier in 2020. Chris, what can you tell us about Bantamweights?
Well, the Bantamweights is one of the smaller weight divisions, so you can expect great cardio and great technique. But these two particular fighters, they were two fighters that were destined to end up fighting each other. Two young prospects coming through the ranks, improving every fight. Especially Antonio Luca. I remember the first time that me and you commentated on one of his fights. I thought he was quite an average-looking fighter, but what we've seen from him is this evolution, this constant improvement. Every time he's in there, this gradual progression through the game. He's become a great wrestler, a great striker, a great jiu-jitsu exponent, and he's putting it all together. And this was the fight to make. This was great matchmaking by promoter James Price as well, to put these two in there, you know, see who is the number one young prospect coming through those amateur ranks.
And now you've mentioned Antonio Longbody Luca. He was really just an athletic standout at first. But on the other side of the cage from him is Nicholas Lucas of Next Generation. And we know that Antonio Luca represents EWF, a real standout gym, but Nicholas Lucas has a huge gym behind him as well. And he's a really good kickboxer. He was going to present a lot of problems for Antonio Luca in this bout. And like you said, so much speed in the bantamweights. They have power as well. They can mix it up. And you don't get to this level, to a title shot, without developing all of your skills in the MMA game. Now, I was able to catch up with Antonio Luca and just see how he's been getting on in training during lockdown, because we always know that he's game for another fight. Let's go to that interview now. Hi, folks. I'm here with Antonio Luca. We're going to be taking a look at his fight in just a few moments. But Antonio, obviously, you are always so well conditioned when you come into fight. And this was for a European title fight at the bantamweight, in the bantamweight division. You know, what was your preparation before this fight?
It was really good, actually. I was doing a lot of sprints, a lot of airdyne bike, a bit of strength conditioning going into it. And it was just, for me, it was the third time fighting at bantamweight, so really making sure that my diet was on point. You know, I've had some bad weight cuts in the past, so I had Dean Kurt helping me out this time, and I was much better. That was a big.
Was there anything specific you changed in your diet to help you bring that weight down before you had the water cut?
Pretty much just a longer weeks out. Instead of probably like 8 weeks, I think I was doing 12, and you know, just obviously more vegetables in the diet as well, just to keep me fuller for longer. Nothing fun, but it got the job done. But also just a bit more pro-advantage with the water cut.
Yeah, exactly. Was there a specific technique or particular part of your game that you wanted to make sure that you had prepared for Nicholas Lucas? Because obviously he's dangerous anywhere, but is specifically dangerous on the feet.
Yeah, I was going into this fight, I was well aware he had heavy hands, because I saw him like knock out one of his opponents cold. But I also saw him, you know, he was good at ragdolling his other opponents with the wrestling. I think the thing with him was I just had to take control. Like you know, he was good when he was in control. So I was like, you know, this is my ball, I'm taking it, and this fight goes where I want it to go, not where he wants it to go. But yeah, he was very good. Well-rounded.
Yeah. Is that something that you've worked on specifically, trying to be a bit more of a quick starter? Because obviously earlier in your career, it's harder to get started so early and take control, like you said. Is this something that you're trying to work on in sparring in every training session?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I always try and be aggressive. Whereas, well, there's some new things I'm working on now that might be going against that. But there's definitely, you know, I like to set the pace from the start. You know, I feel like whoever controls the pace, the range, has pretty much got control of the fight from the start.
Exactly. Who gets there first? Well, Antonio, thanks for talking it up. We're going to have a look at that fight right now. I can't wait to see how it goes.
There we are, the feeling out process. Long body Luca, Nicholas Lucas. Some very strong records from both young men.
I've got some secret information on Longbody. He's actually been training at BST, mixing up his training from his home of EWF.
Well, Nicholas Lucas is undefeated at the moment, 3-0. Longbody Lucas, 5-3. He's had that experience. He knows the agony of defeat and the thrill of victory.
And Antonio Luca is coming off that big win over Josh Abreu, where he's probably a heavy underdog, but pulled out the victory, and it's got to give him confidence.
Definitely, and obviously training
But
over.
a big jab from Nicholas Lucas.
It's always interesting to see how Lucas is so calm, so controlled.
He uses the oh, how did he finish on top? And bounce out of it. Luca.
This is where the real action is here, folks. He connects his hands and he takes him down, does Luca. And now Nicholas Lucas has lots to work for.
It's dangerous. Just slightly crisper boxing is making the difference. Although, yet a couple there, though.
There we go. He's steaming forward is long body Luca.
Oh, another one.
It's just me, but Luca looks a bit bigger in here.
I'd say just a touch, yeah. Oh, Nicholas, just such crisp boxing. Doesn't throw a huge amount of kicks, but it's kind of his hooks and uppercuts. Very clean.
Shot to the body. Can he spin? Can he take the back now? Very little time left here.
This is going to be so close, this fight.
Needs to stand up. He can't accept the bottom here. Oh, we're going last 10 seconds. He's looking to cinch up a guillotine attempt, maybe even just to keep the judges thinking.
Wow, what a fight, Steve. What a fight for our European title. Wow.
Winner and new Battle Arena European champion in blue corner,
Wow, that was pillar to post, a really dominant performance, Antonio. Just awesome to see everything that you just talked about come together. Was there anything that Nicholas Lucas was doing that kind of surprised you or made you switch up your game?
Most of the stuff I thought he did was pretty predictable as I was planning. I would say the one thing that caught me off guard is he snuck a little body kick in, which I wasn't prepared for that. I thought just heavy hands, heavy wrestling. So that caught me off guard a little bit in the second round. But other than that, it pretty much went how I thought it was going to go. A lot of pressure and a lot of wrestling.
Yeah, a lot of pressure. You talked about getting in there first and making sure that you took control, and you certainly did that, especially in the first. If you could go back, what's one thing that you would change about that fight? What would you do differently over those 3 rounds?
I would definitely try and up the pace a bit more on the ground control. I felt, looking back now, if I had worked a bit more hard on some guard passing, I felt like I definitely would have got the finish. There was a moment when I got a takedown in the second round as well. It was in mount position. And I sort of doubted myself. I saw an opening for a dash choke, but I kind of stopped myself as he went for an underhook to not give up a good position. But those would be the little things that change. Other than that, maybe a bit more commitment to the striking. But all in all,
Yeah,
I was
it's
very
almost
happy with the performance.
Yeah, exactly. Be more aggressive, commit to the striking, look for your finishes. It's been a whole year since that fight now, and you're coming in as somebody almost like a brand new fighter after a year of training. What's next for you?
Oh, yeah. My next fight will be July 17th. It'll be my last fight as an amateur, and it'll be for the Bantamweight World Championship. This will go for 5 rounds, but I've made a lot of big changes this last year, and I feel like I'm going to get the finish quite early on, to be honest. I don't want to give too much away, but I think you're definitely going to see a completely different Antonio this time around.
Well, we'll definitely be watching. Antonio, the long body Luca, coming in, looking for the finish. He's already calling it, folks. He's not going to be going for 5 rounds. It's not going to be a grinder. It's going to be a pummeling. We're looking forward to talking to you right after that, Antonio. Thank you very much for joining us.
An incredible fight and what turns out to be a very dominant performance from our man, Antonio Longbody Luca. And in the end, he gets crowned the king of Europe for the bantamweights. Chris, what was the real takeaway from that fight for you?
I think the difference between the 2 fighters was the groundwork of Antonio Luca. He was a bit more controlling on the floor, and you know this better than most people, Steve, because you have a background in wrestling. If you can control the wrestling part of the fight, you can control where the fight is going to take place. You can say, okay, we're going to take this to the floor, I'm going to stay on my feet. And then even if you don't want to wrestle, you can be more confident to stay on your feet because you're like, if the guy shoots on me, I'm going to be able to stuff that takedown. And that gives you so much more confidence, and it can make the difference in fights. I'm a bad example myself because I'm a terrible wrestler. And I've always relied on just falling over a lot. But what we saw was the difference was Antonio Luca could get on top and hold him there.
Exactly, and he did just that. And there's just a few takeaways here for you folks at home or you folks that are thinking about getting into MMA. Antonio Luca had incredible control on the ground, and he did something very smart in that first round to stifle Nicholas Lucas. It was obvious that Nicholas was trying to get off his kickboxing game. He was standing up, he was throwing high kicks, he was throwing a myriad of strikes at Antonio Luca. Luca was able to stalk him down, back him up against the cage, and take him down with a huge double. But then Nicholas Lucas was trying to walk his hips up, trying to attack with different types of submissions. And Antonio Luca did something incredibly intelligent. He kept his forehead right in the middle of Nicholas Lucas's chest, so he wasn't able to be submitted or bumped off into an angle. And what he was able to do from there was land some strikes, stifle Lucas, and make sure that he was going to take that first round. And once the first round is yours, it's all a catch-up game for your opponent.
What an exciting fight and what great action. And we're going to be back with more action after the break. And welcome back to Battle Arena TV. Now, Steve, before we carry on with the show, I've got a little question for you. What do you prefer, the baggy board shorts, this is for fighting, or those tight Valley Tudo cycling shorts?
I prefer personally having the tight Valley Tudo shorts because there's a couple reasons for this. One, I think my legs are really nice. And two, there's a tendency for cheaters to grab onto your board shorts and try to use them as a little bit of leverage. So it just takes a little bit of a tool away from your opponents. Keep it tight, and keep it right.
See?
What about you, Chris?
I have bad memories of the Valley Tudo shorts because my first ever boxing fight, I came out, the guy's got his skin-tight shorts on, and he's got what would appear to be a KFC bucket underneath the shorts, which was very distracting. Right, and I lost my game plan. I changed my plan of what my attacks I was going to come out with because I was so confused by looking at these tight shorts. Anyway, we digress. Let's look at what we got coming up in this show.
Hi Chris, hi Steve. This week the Mayhem Babes are in Birmingham, England for Battle Arena MMA UK. The city is the home of two renowned clubs, Team Renegade Jiu-Jitsu, which was established in 2013, and also Ronin MMA Gyms, established in January 2020.
But first, we have a featherweight tilt between Bart Ivania of Tapper Snap and our man Shay Ingram from Renegade Gym. What can you tell me about Renegade there, Chris? You've got all the inside scoops.
Well, I do have a little bit of the inside scoop there, Steve. So they've established themselves as probably the UK's premier MMA gym. And the reason for that is that they have Tom Breese, current UFC fighter, absolute monster. They have Fabian Edwards in Bellator. They have Leon Edwards, who's possibly going to be getting a title fight soon. And also a whole stable of fighters underneath them. And one of the things they do is the head coaches there will travel around the world training with these top coaches and then bring it all back to Birmingham, of all places, to teach their students these techniques. So you'll see the guys from Renegade using the Danaher back attack system so effectively because Tom Breese has gone to New York at the time, learnt from Danaher, and then brought it back to the UK to show his students.
So it's a regular just importation wonder, isn't it? So Renegade's got that. What about Bart Ivania? What has he got going for him with Tapper Snap? I know they've gone through a lot of changes, and currently they're in a new facility, but at this time they're still Tapper Snap, and Bart Ivania is probably going to look to keep this standing, I would suppose, against a Renegade gym that's so grappling strong.
Right, I mean, Bart Ivania's an amazing fighter, really well-rounded, but he's got the most aggressive tattoos, right? And I think that definitely helps you in a fight, because it's like war paint, right? You can look a little bit more intimidating if you're covered in the nose, and it's quite a commitment to get a full chest tattoo when you're quite a young man like Bart Ivania. So we're going to watch the fight now, and we're going to see the battle between these two up-and-coming prospects.
Shay Ingram with the purple gloves, Ivania in the green. Shay looking to get behind that jab, and he lands a big right hand there. Has Bart stunned momentarily. He's just putting it on. Lots and lots of power here early. Ivania looks for the grapple, but gets kept on his feet by an uppercut from Shay. Now he's back in there tight. Shea
Shea's
looking
on
for a
it.
standing guillotine. It's tight, tight, tight.
That's a good grip as well, that kind of under the fist grip. It's an unusual grip. It could be over. He's looking to his corner for advice.
Can't really get there. He's got a grip on it now.
That's so
Just
smart.
tightening it up now.
Looking straight over to his jiu-jitsu coach. What should I do? What should I do from there?
Yeah.
Oh, Bart was waving. I don't think he was at all worried about that choke.
Was that a? I thought that was like a phantom tap there almost for a moment.
Oh,
The
he's
old
got-
Brazilian tap. Again, head position is playing all the difference here for Shea Ingram. and
Oh,
he's tripping
drags
right
him down.
Now he's on top working again. Again, head position. Excellent. Use that head as a fifth limb. if you will.
Yeah, and like that's what we've seen from these renegade guys all night. Just that's what they do so well. Constant head pressure. Nice shoulder pressure now as well. Trying to work his right leg out of that half guard, get to a more dominant position.
And you can do like a kind of a half guard style power pass from there.
Yep. Well, half guard's not a bad place to be in MMA. It holds the guy down. Randy Couture used to love diving into people's half guards because he felt like it was very hard for him to stand up.
The pressure he's laying down on that shoulder is great. Great. Now he's looking to pass. Bart's doing well to follow and keep his legs in.
Oh, Bart's done so well not to get his guard past, to retain half guard. But what the mistake Bart's making is he's got that overwrap, which is making it hard for him to get hit, but it's going to be probably almost impossible to escape with that overwrap. What he needs is an underhook, so he needs to put his left arm under the arm of Shea Ingram. Not over it.
Nice hammer fist there.
He does have a knee shield now. If he could frame off and kick away and make a little bit of space.
That was great.
But
This is some really good striking on the top here from Shea Ingram.
yeah, he hits hard.
I think he heard me. Read the pressure in the hips and just turn it.
Oh, beautifully taken that mount. Just slowly snuck over that knee. And he's pressed Bart against the cage as well. Bart's trying to get his back up. He's going to do the cross the foot under look. That is Khabib's. No, that's definitely Khabib.
He's got good control here.
That kind of thread in the leg, the kind of reverse half guard position. It's when you're doing ground and pound, it's such a good spot to be in.
He's climbing it up.
Now he's gone to a more traditional full
Right
mount,
in Bart,
landing big
Bart
shots.
behind his corner. He's on the back now.
Nearly under the chin. Bart recognized it, went flat.
Interestingly, you're seeing both of Ingram's feet on one side. He's got like a bit of a body triangle here, really
Yeah,
crushing Bartavania. He's got it. Is it under the chin? He's squeezing away here.
Oh, it's looking close. There's a long time left in this round.
He's got to set it up a little bit more, get the hooks in, stretching back,
Oh,
using
I
the
don't
legs and arms.
think he's under. He could be. He's going to crank it anyway. Doesn't have to be perfect. Often you see you can get just the side, or even if you're on the face,
He's got his hands together
you
now.
can still get the finish. All over.
Big tap and a very bloody Bartavania. And Ingram gets the finish in the third round of what is an absolutely incredible performance. And he goes 3-0.
Wow, what a great fight. I think he was quite pleased about the result. What do you think, Steve?
Well, I was lucky enough to interview Shea Ingram right after the fight, and man, was he amped. I think the quote is, "I want all the titles." This is great for Shea Ingram because as we're going to be coming out of lockdown soon, in July, Shea Ingram's going to be up for a title tilt for the European title against a standout Matthias Urkau. But let's not worry about that right now. Let's stay focused at the task at hand. What we just saw there was a real standout performance from Shea Ingram. He was able to strike effectively, close the distance, and really impose his will over 2.5 rounds. And his finish was very interesting, but we'll get to that in a moment. What was he doing really effectively against the cage, Chris?
Hey, I mean, he was controlling. And one of the things, if you can get a fighter against the cage, especially if their neck is against the cage, so they're kind of bent over and backed up, it takes away the bridge and it takes away a lot of their movement to escape. And it even takes away the submissions from the bottom, because most of the submissions or escapes from the bottom, you want to get an angle on your opponent. But if you're being pressed against the cage, it just takes all of that away and makes it very uncomfortable.
That is something that we don't talk about enough. When your head is pressed up against the the chain link of that cage, it is incredibly uncomfortable. It rides your ears, your face, and you really feel like you have to move. It makes you a bit desperate, and we see how that plays out in the third round. What I want to back up a bit with Shea Ingram, because when he was going into the clinches up against the fence, he was doing something so clever that we see from a lot of these Renegade guys. They don't just go for your standard singles and doubles and body lock throws. They do a series of trips, so you're always having to stumble and step back, and that's what really took Bantamweight by surprise. He was looking for a kickboxing fight, or maybe to impose his tattoo program on Shea Ingram. But instead, Shea was able to keep him guessing, keep him off balance, secure top position, and the first round was just a clinic. He was on top, standing over Bantamweight and just raining down those right hands. He's just a powerhouse, is Shea Ingram.
Right, it's such an impressive performance. And it's what we're also seeing from his teammate at Renegade, Leon Edwards, #1 ranked welterweight on the planet. And he's like in the UFC with all these high school wrestling champions, and he's out wrestling everyone. He puts together the striking to the wrestling, and it's filtering down into his whole team, and they're putting it all together. But one of the things, Steve, is the finish at the end of that fight. It was a rear naked choke, right? And that's often a little bit confusing to people. Why is it called a rear naked choke, right? It's from the back, rear, but naked choke seems a bit weird, right? And the idea is, a lot of the traditional jiu-jitsu chokes, you would use the suit. In this one, you didn't have to use the suit. You could just use your arm, so you could do it naked. Not that it's advised. But and then even though it's called a choke, it's not really a choke. We're pressing on the side of someone's neck, and that causes them to have to tap out, or they're going to pass out because it stops the blood to the brain. So he did it in a very specific way, a really intelligent way. So I made a little home video just for you and for all our viewers, so I can explain exactly how he got the submission at the end of the fight. We're going to go to that now. Let's break down the finish from that fight. That was an incredible finish there by Shea Ingram. He gets on top, he gets a really dominant position on top, he's landing heavy ground and pound, and all Bart can do, he's tried every escape, is give up his back, right? And Shea starts switching to what he wanted initially, which was a rear naked choke. The reason that he didn't quite get it was that he got the back of Bart here, and he got his arm around the neck. But for a rear naked choke, I need my elbow right in front here, and to get this grip. But his arm was short, his elbow's over here on the shoulder. So although he got this grip, he couldn't squeeze the side of the neck to get the submission. So he tries this, he realizes it's not working, and then he switches to a short choke. So he puts his hands together, puts the forearm on her back, not for her back, Bart's back. He uses the shoulder as a fulcrum to give him leverage to pull his arm into the throat, and then squeezes everything tight and gets the submission.
My turn.
Like that. You wanna?
My turn. Because girls can fight too, guys. Just FYI. Should I do the explanation as well? Alright. You've got you coming around. The arm's not in front, the elbow's not in the right place. So I'm going to give up, I'm going to grab the wrist, I'm going to lean up into your shoulder, and I'm going to twist.
And with that, back to the studio.
I guess that's what a black belt's for, eh, Chris? The ability to change up a technique based upon necessity. Now, we know those gloves are way too thick. You can't always get them in your bicep, so locking the hands, just like Shea Ingram did, is really, really high level. What a great little adjustment. Thanks for explaining that to us, Chris.
Oh, my pleasure. And if you've appreciated any of our breakdowns or the fights, you can drop us a line on social media, let us know you're enjoying it, and give us a follow, and then you'll keep informed about upcoming events. We have loads more great fights coming up after the break.
Welcome back to Battle Arena TV. We have something very special coming up for you. We've got a professional mixed martial arts bout between Brian Hoy from the Netherlands and our man Joe Silk Cummings. But first, we've got to go to those Mayhem Girls and see what they've been up to.
This week, the Mayhem Babes are in Birmingham, England for Battle Arena MMA UK. The city is the home of two renowned clubs, Team Renegade Jiu-Jitsu, which was established in 2013, and also Ronin MMA Gyms, established in January 2020.
Let's have a recap of last week's episode at Ronin MMA.
What does it take to be an MMA fighter? Mentally is the main thing. You need to be bulletproof, 90% bulletproof. You get injuries, you get setbacks, you have bad days, and you have to be mentally strong to be an MMA fighter. It doesn't matter whether you're a dustbin man or a top tier athlete, everybody's welcome.
This This week, I want to hear all about who your favourite fighters are from Birmingham. Get in touch using all social media platforms using hashtag #MayhemBabes. Today at the gym, we have a full line in store for us. We are meeting fighters, management companies, and also the owner of the club. At Renegade Gym is a place where you leave your ego at the door. You can practice all forms of combat sports to the highest level. Gym has been an integral part of the community. It gives the youth another lifeline, putting them off the streets and learning how to defend themselves. And once lockdown is over, they are dedicating time to children's classes, the champions of the future.
Yeah, I understand that the last year and a half has been tough. So I understand that there's a lot of ups and downs, but as long as you stay to yourself, work hard, get exercise, be around people as much as you can, and just stay motivated. That's the main thing, and that's what helped me get through my COVID pandemic that I went through for my fight career.
So today I'm meeting with Nathan and Jordan, co-founders of King's Athlete Management.
You've got to have a real hard work ethic. You've got to have the dedication and the desire to want to obviously get in the cage and test yourself. MMA is one of those sports where you can't hide, you can't be seen to be lacking, so you've really got to try and train in all areas and all aspects of the sport, which is commonly boxing, Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu and wrestling. And on top of that, you've obviously got to make sure your strength and conditioning is on top. And I suppose you've also got to have a very strong mind as well, because you're generally under a lot of pressure to cut weight when you have an opponent. I mean, when you get to the higher echelons of the sport, you have, media day or media week obligations. So being an MMA fighter takes a lot of different credentials. I wouldn't just say it's just one credential.
Hey, Liam Rock Edwards here, number ranked free welterweight in the world. Looking to fight for the world title this year. I am competing again in May, hopefully number one contender spot, then we go from there.
Part 1, we learned all about Team Renegade's history and the transition from a purely jiu-jitsu gym to mixed martial arts. We spoke to some of the fighters and we set things up for this week's challenge. Let's find out more of what the club has to offer next. Jade from Mayhem Babes for Battle Arena. Back to the studio.
Well, Steve, I have had a letter from Susan in Somerset, and she wants to know the history of mixed martial arts. And I guess she's probably talking about like the modern era of mixed martial arts, specifically the UFC, because that's when it really popularized it. Now, Steve, UFC 1, who won, basically? Like, what did this prove?
Well, UFC 1 and the first kind of kumite approach in the early 90s, this was when everybody brought different disciplines together, and it was Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, specifically Royce Gracie, that reigned supreme in the first several UFCs, proving that a grappling art can be the best art.
Yeah, and I think that's what he did. It was all these styles were very focused on striking, but the grappler comes in, and you can spend your whole life boxing, but if you've never been wrestled, if you've never been pinned on the floor, you're not going to know how to defend that. And they showed that all these other martial arts had this big weakness, which was they didn't do any of the ground fighting, right? It was slightly favored towards them, in my opinion. They made it a big cage. They had a nice soft mat, right? So obviously grappling might not work so well if it's two people against one or something like that, but it proved the effectiveness of ground fighting. Now, I know that you love wrestling, Steve, and you're a high school wrestling champion. What was the next evolution after that?
Well, it's very interesting because originally they were wearing the kimonos and using that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu style, but as people started to shed their kimonos and start to fight in what we see now is the modern mixed martial arts style, usually just shorts or those Vale Tudo shorts and gloves, you got to see it favor no-gi grappling or our style of freestyle and Greco-Roman wrestling. You have what are just incredible athletes, guys like Mark Kerr and Coleman, who come in and they just absolutely decimated the field based upon their athleticism and ability to control the cage. But this is at the end of the late 90s and early 2000s. And then we get another transition. So we've gone from two grappling arts, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, American freestyle wrestling, and now we get into another transition early in the 2000s. What is that one?
Well, I think it then went to Thai boxing, right? So you have a striking art that has some grappling and wrestling in it. They use the clinch, they're playing close range, knees up the middle. You know, if you're a wrestler and you're going to shoot for that takedown and there's a big, strong knee coming at you, that can really put you off diving in, trying to grab someone's legs. And then the evolution after that was, you know, the wrestlers kind of figured out how to counter some of the Thai boxing, and I felt like it kind of went back towards wrestling. But then the next step was footwork, in my opinion. You had the Machidas come through, the Conor McGregors that we're now seeing, and some of the top strikers, even Stylebender right now, with this bouncy footwork, in and out, right? Neo footwork, or even sports karate footwork, where you're bouncing in and out. And instead of Thai boxing and boxing, they're very reliant on having big gloves. If you've got a big glove, you can block real easily. But you put those 4-ounce MMA gloves on, it's really hard to block. But if you're bouncing in and out, you don't have to be able to block with those small gloves. And also, if you're bouncing in and out, you can effectively bounce or run away from the wrestling and keep a different distance than a Thai boxer or a more traditional striker. But now I think the wrestling's coming back. Can you speak, Steve, on the new evolution of wrestling, the Sambo evolution of wrestling, and how they've mixed it up? I don't want to offend you. I know you're not a big Sambo fan.
All right, I guess we should go with this. Sambo benefits mainly from the fact that it's a striking and grappling art mixed together. So they're used to striking to close the distance, striking to set up grappling. And in this way, we can't have a one-size-fits-all sort of approach to martial arts anymore. There's not somebody that's just going to walk in as a pure wrestler, a pure Thai boxer, a pure Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu artist, and actually be able to be effective in the cage. You have to have an idea of every single discipline. You have to be able to strike, grapple, and defend. And that's why we've seen Sambo elevated so high, because they're able not only to strike inside, they take down, and they have a lot of control and submissions on the ground. And really what Sambo is a Russian style of what has become American and European MMA. And we're seeing a lot of MMA being elevated here in the UK, and that's why a promotion like MMA Battle Arena is so incredible, because it's able to develop the skills of amateur fighters who are going to rise all the way up to the ranks of the likes of Bellator and the UFC.
Well, I think it's enough of a history lesson, Steve. I think we should go check in with those Mayhem Girls.
In part 1, we learned all about Team Renegade's history and the transition from a purely jiu-jitsu gym to mixed martial arts. And we set things up for this week's challenge. Let's find out more of what the club has to offer next.
We've got 3 UFC fighters, 2 Cage Warriors champions. We've got some of the best amateurs. We've got about 5-6 Bellator fighters.
Great gym to come down, get fit. You don't have to compete, just come get fit, join in with the guys. It's like a family feel, so it's a great gym to be at.
So I'm joined with Aidan Lee. He has kindly offered to do my weekly challenge. So we will see what he has in store for me today.
Oh, come on. People trying to set you down, wrestle. So I'm going to teach you to defend the takedown. Your hands go straight to the mat. You're going to throw your legs back. You're going to get your feet to the floor. So come here with my hands up and throw it. Watch, go in. Yeah. You have your hips down, head up. Straight to the floor. So, you don't get a feel of it. Yeah. Whoa. There you go. Take it down backwards. So, no, obviously you've done defending the takedowns, so I'm going to work attacking now. So I'll do it first, nice and slow. Get back straight. Yep. Yeah.
Can you come in like this?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Now keeping that back straight, more straight through with your right leg. Straight forward.
Oh, right, okay. Like
Yeah.
that. Ah.
So even if you stay up, don't fall over. I'll go on you.
But body weight versus muscle, you know, that's what you're doing here. It's all about body weight. Yeah.
Training out for MMA. What we're going to work on, obviously MMA, you know, it's very, very straining on your body, your joints. So we make sure we do a lot of we do a lot of active stretching, and you know, even when we're warming up for the sessions, we're not just banging press ups and this, that. You know, we need to stay loose and look after the body. So what we're going to work, straight arm, straight leg. Hamstrings, and then loosen it up. You've probably done these before. Gonna go knees bent, It's going to be a bare core. Obviously, it's not a stretch, but we're still warming up the joints. So.
I thought you done turn our legs there.
So literally just keeping the knee bent. And I don't want to be like that. You see people doing this, you know. I want to keep my core tight, knees close to the floor. Probably feel it in the quad, slowly.
And yes, I'm feeling it. Well, that certainly was a challenge. A huge thanks to Aidan here at Team Renegade for helping me out this week. Remember, you can get involved at home. We are going to send this all online, so get involved. Online on all the social media platforms, so do get involved and use hashtag #MayhemBabesChallenge.
Thanks for that, ladies. It's looking like the Mayhem Girls are getting all the fun. Please remember to get at us on all of our social media platforms. Get us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook so you can keep up with the MMA Battle Arena chatter. Ask us questions and tell us who your favorite fighters are and what your favorite finishes are. But we're going to go to our professional MMA bout of the evening. We're going to see Brian Hoy from the Netherlands fight Joe Silk Cummings from here in Britain. What can you tell us about these two fighters?
Well, both highly ranked fighters, Stephen. This was one of those fights going in where I had no idea who was going to win this. I felt like they both had such high-level skill sets, and they're actually almost quite similar to each other in their styles. Both great strikers, both like to throw in a little bit of wrestling to mix it up, and both have incredible gas tanks. And I want everyone at home watching this to really take close attention. I won't say what happens at the end, but it's a slightly controversial fight. And like we said on social media, I want to know, your pick from the end of it, who you think won and how. And you can let us know, because this was a fight for the ages. Styles, cardio, technique, really, really amazing performance by both fighters.
Exactly, and something that we've alluded to is that mixed martial arts has really evolved, especially over the last 30 years, but every country seems to develop its own little approach and style. Americans tend to be heavy wrestlers, Brazilians tend to always be submission and Muay Thai fighters, and we have a really distinct style that's come out of the Netherlands with this heavy kickboxing style, like the Diamond Ramon Decker. And here in Britain, we're starting to boast our own style, aren't we?
We are indeed. I mean, the UK is becoming the hybrid spot because we have a great history of striking and boxing. We also have a lot of Brazilians that have come here, so we have a really strong base of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. We have Roger Gracie, Braulio Acima, world champions that have come to the UK. And then, I'm not entirely sure how it's happened, but the UK wrestling has actually got pretty high level. I think the UK was behind on wrestling compared to all the other countries, and then all the UK fighters realised if you could wrestle, you could become a British champion. So every gym was trying to shoehorn it in and be the wrestling gym. And that's what made this fight so good. It's because it had all those elements in one fight. So let's go watch the fight now.
Yeah, good pressure from Hoy. Oh, nice shoulder strike. He's got that good, very positive head position here. I wonder if Cummings is trying to give up that single. Maybe not.
No, I don't think Joe wants to be here. This is a bad spot. He's trying to get back to his feet. Bit of cagecraft. Hoy trying to slip to the back.
Doing really well here. He digs a hook in on the far side. Now he's really making Joe Cummings really just carry him at the moment. He starts slamming some knees into the thighs.
Joe Cummings has been on the scene for so many years. Really experienced fighter. And the pressure of Hoy is relentless.
Hoy rocking a 15-7 record though, so a lot of experience there as well.
Yeah.
Seeing that in the craftiness here as he slows down Cummings and puts him up against the fence.
Yeah, Cummings just slowly getting those underhooks. Now he's in a good position to turn the corner and get out of this, to relieve the pressure that he's experiencing from Hoy.
These are 5-minute rounds, folks, so they do last quite long, and there's a lot of work to be done.
Yeah, sometimes with the pros, there's moments of explosiveness, of course, but you'll see them pace themselves a little bit more than the amateurs. And they don't want, they're experienced enough not to throw full power into everything and know when to work and when to ride it. Cummings just digging for those underhooks, trying to get a trip of his own. Excellent work.
Great wizard hip toss there from Cummings.
Oh, he's looking for the back.
He's on the back immediately.
Oh, is he under the chin? He's close already.
Hoy looking very nonplussed there.
Yeah, Brian Hoy, very composed. Looks like he's just woken up.
Hard to tell with those the two pairs of red gloves there.
Yeah,
Which one's which?
Whose hand is flying who? But we know that Joe Cummins wants to slip, maybe probably his right wrist under the chin of Brian Hoy. He is digging for it. Hoy doing a good job, constantly grip fighting.
A lot of time to work still for
Joe
Cummins.
Is Joe Cummins kind of slipping off the top just a little bit? The cage is helping him. Oh,
there it is.
Is he under?
This guy's hands connected.
Oh.
There's a
He's
big
on the
squeeze
face.
here. Fighting the hands is
Hoy
Brian
fighting the
Hoy.
hands. Oh, that is right under the chin.
He's squeezing really tight. He needs to extend his body.
Oh,
Hoy does
excellent work
so
by
well.
Hoy.
So well to fight out of that momentarily.
That's an unusual way to escape the back. The throw punch is behind you, but if it works.
Kick mixes it up.
Oh, that's shin to shin. Oh, knee got through.
That got Cummins' eyes really wide open.
Oh, nice straight left to the body.
Straight left.
What Hoy's doing is getting his foot on the outside. So he's just slightly in a better position when these exchanges happen. Yeah, a big right there. Once again, Hoy, foot on the outside, controlling the position.
Hoy keeps going to the body. And then coming up.
Oh,
he
but
gets
he's
his head
hitting
knocked
a
back.
few. Both fighters have been landing big.
This is the point when it all opens up here in the second round. There's your Kimura Trap again.
Kimura Trap.
Hoy doing well to connect his hands.
It's a good way to deal with the takedown. So the Kimura Trap, for our listeners at home that don't necessarily know what it is where you put this arm lock and you can't really finish it, but it means if the guy throws you, you might be able to get it.
Spinning back fist. Shakes his head. Hoy shakes his head, trying to signal that didn't hurt him, but he's not getting a lot of offense off right now.
Calls from Joe Silk Cummins' corner to get off the cage, but it's going to be so difficult with the constant pressure of Brian Hoy.
Calls to finish it. Silk's corner.
Yeah, he's got Kimura Trap again.
Oh, he sprawls hard.
It's a good sprawl. Oh, wing the top of his head. Oh, I look for a bomb.
Just an incredible pace from both of these guys. This is wicked.
Yeah.
They're just not giving up. Just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
I'm so sad this fight's over, Steve. They've got a few seconds left. I could see round after round of this. Joe Silk Cummins pressuring in.
A lot of desire from both fighters.
Brian Hoy trying to get a takedown. Somebody wants to put their full stop on the end of this round. Oh, another head kick attempt. Rock'em Sock'em Robots in the last few seconds.
Wow, what a flurry there from Joe Cummins at the very end. Brian Hoy thinks he's got it. Cummins sits down.
Well, that's what happens when you have an irresistible force meeting an immovable object. You had two professionals at the very height of their game in the lightweight division, Brian Hoy and Joe Silk Cummins. Brian Hoy ending with the victory, getting a really tough-fought decision there. Chris, what was the difference?
Honestly, I don't know, Steve. That's why I wanted the audience to really take attention in this fight, because it has been raging on social media. Even now, it's still raging on social media, the dispute between who actually won that fight. I think if I had to put my money, if I was forced to bet, I'd actually go with the judges and say Brian Hoy edged it. But that's the controversial thing about MMA. It's not just who does the most damage, but you have to win rounds, right? So it's quite often, if you judge a fight just on who did the most damage, it's not that simple. You know, often you'll see at the end of a fight, one guy's covered in blood and the other guy looks fine, But if the other guy's taken him down, controlled rounds, maybe caught him on the chin, it hasn't left a mark, but it's hurt him and he's been rocked or been very close to a submission that the other guy's escaped. So it's very hard to judge fights just based on who looks the most worn out or hurt by the end of it. And that's why I think Hoy edged it. I think he possibly did less damage, but I think he won 2 of the rounds.
That's the thing, right? The judges are looking at the entire fight, all 15 minutes. Oftentimes when you're watching a fight at home, you're only remembering the highlights. You're only seeing Joe Silk Cummings taking the back in the second round, finishing on top in the third. He had a really deep rear naked choke, and Hoy was able to hand fight and get out of it. That was probably a little bit of the difference here in the skill of Hoy. He was able to stay calm. He was fighting in that southpaw stance, which might have had Joe Cummings a little bit put off. He was able to get outside, push Cummings up against the fence, and every time he was looking to grab that hand underneath on his overhook side, and he was able to stifle Cummings constantly. And if you notice at home, he had the head always under the chin. It was a very uncomfortable fight for Joe Silk Cummings, that's for sure.
And it's hard, that's really close submission attempt, is how do you score that? Right, comparable to a really close punch that could knock someone out. It's very subjective, MMA. It's like, to me, as a jiu-jitsu guy, I think a close submission attempt should count, almost as much as almost putting someone away or the bell saving them at the end of the round from an onslaught of punches. But it also doesn't leave damage, right? A close submission attempt, the guy can come out for the next round. He's not been hurt. There has not been as much of a long-term effect unless you've cracked on an arm or a joint lock or something. Mm-hmm. So it's so subjective. It's so hard to score. It's one of the reasons I like being an analyst and a commentator and not a judge, because it is a bit of an unforgiving position to be in.
In all fairness to the judges, though, Hoy was walking him down the entire time, and we have those moments of passivity from Joe Cummings. We have him backing up, backing onto the fence, and Hoy able to dictate the pace. We did have those moments of brilliance from Joe Silk Cummings like we always do. He is an absolutely incredible fighter, and we're looking forward to having him on the show later on. But with that, get on our social media. Tell us what you think, because this is controversial. Weigh in. Let's have some absolute debates going on across Instagram and Twitter here on MMA Battle Arena. But that brings us to the end of this show today.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for watching. Like Steve said, follow us on social media, and we'll see you soon.